Hello guys, so today I'm gonna show you that how you can create a Node.js server and how you can create serve static files with it. Okay, so let me just open my code editor, VS Code, and yeah. So first of all, let me create a file. So let us call it server.js. So basically, when you want to create a server in Node.js, a lot of people use express.js in their web applications. Very less people use the pure Node.js to work with the web server applications, because it is kind of hard to doing it a little difficult than the express.js, because that's a framework and has a lot of utility functions and methods and middlewares to handle the mainstream things that we do in with the applications. So let's get started with it. We are going to do it with the pure Node.js HTTP module. So for that, because we will be creating an HTTP server, so we require the oh my god, we require HTTP module. Let's call it HTTP. And okay, so basically we can just create an instance of our server using http.createServer method, and here we can pass a request handler. Basically you have to pass a callback function that will handle your request in it. So I'm not doing it inside here, so I'll be making a different function over here. So it's request handler, and it will take a request and a response as arguments, and we'll see further. So our server would listen on a port, and it also takes in a callback function that is optional, but I like to do it and pass a basic information like server is running on port, and then the port number. Okay, so port is basically a term that represents a physical position in your machine where the server is listening for request, and the external client interacts with the server on that physical location. So okay, so we can take it from the environment variable if anyone has defined. Basically it's a good practice to do it, or if it is undefined, then we can say okay, run it on port 3000 by default. Okay, so I think we are ready, and then we can write our request handler. So basically for now I'm just gonna say response.end and hello world, and so yes, so basically I'm gonna do this for now, and let's try to run this server if it is working or not. So yeah, so node server.js, and we can see that our server is running on port 3000. And how can we send a request to this? So we can use curl for our testing purposes, and the IP of our machine, and then the port number, and there you go, you get hello world, right? But we can also use our browser to send a request. So new window, and here we will send our request. So 107.300.3 3000, and we can see that we get a hello world here. So but if we inspect what is happening behind the scenes, then we can go on to the networks tab, and if I reload this page, then you can see that it is taking 7 milliseconds to get the response from the server. But one thing to note is that I'm getting a status of 200, which I have not set. So what this Node.js server is doing, it is by default adding a status code of 200 with my response. But what if I want to say, okay, the thing that you requested, the client that you requested the thing is not available, and that is a bad request, or maybe 404, right? So we can do that by response dot write head and the status code number, right? So what is the status code that we want to send? It's 404. So basically we would have to restart the server for this. It's a very small application, so we are not using any tool to restart the server automatically whenever there is a change. So we can see now the status is 404, right? So here is how you can add your status code with your response. So but for now it is 200 because it is okay. So we have to run this server again. So yeah, it is running. So yeah, so we can see that it is 200 now. Okay, cool. So now let's try to serve a static file with our server. So basically I take a file from my system, right, and const file path. So I would need the path of that file. So say I would take the directory path.join. So this is a path module that I'm going to use, and it is really handy to play with the paths in your operating system and the file system to basically to get the path of different files, modules and directories. So I'd say directory name, and I would want to give it a path of any file that I want to serve. So on the desktop I have a folder programming. Inside that I have a CB and editorials and rat and cheese.cpp file. Basically you can take any file that you have on your system, but if you're using Windows, then make sure that you are using the correct path. So basically what we should do always is, whenever we are doing things with our path and anything else, then we should print them before doing anything else. So let me just test it if it is working correctly. So yeah, this seems to be an okay path. If I go to this path, right, so or if I try to print this, so cat this thing, desktop programming, no such file or directory. Okay, so cd, okay, so programming cb. Oh yeah, so basically this is not inside the tutorial. I would have to go one step back. Let's just for simplicity just not make it complicated due to paths and all things. So create a file like code.cpp just really quickly, and I paste a snippet in it, code snippet. Come on, VS Code, give me a code snippet. Yeah, so this is a code snippet that I'd be serving to my server.js. So basically it's inside the directory name, and the file name is code.cpp, right? So this is my file, and so node server.js, and it is correctly displaying the path of the file, right? So now I want to serve this file to my client. Now what I can do is I need to read this file, and to read a file you need the permission from your OS, and you don't have to do that in Node.js because it is always abstracted for us, and we can directly use the FS, the file system module, which will allow us to read a file, the data inside a file. So here what we need to do is we can say fs.read file, and it takes the path of the file, obviously, so file path, and yeah, so read file path, and we need to pass a callback function because it is an asynchronous thing, so we need to pass a callback function, and it would have two parameters. If we have any kind of error, like we were not able to find the file, or there were any permissions error, then we would have an error object, and this is the first argument, and the second would be getting our data if we were able to successfully read the file. So we can say that if there is any error, then response.write head, I want to inform the client that we have something wrong with it, so I'm sending 500 internal server error, something went wrong, or maybe 404 file not found, right? And response dot maybe what should I send, say error dot message, whatever be the error was. And when you would come out of, and if you don't go inside this loop, that means you don't have any error, and then you can say okay, everything was fine, and response with data. Okay, so this is our request handler function, and it should work. So let's just try to run it. So our server is running, everything looks fine, great. And if okay, so you can see that we are able to serve this file. Okay, but let's see what happens if there is any error in this. Okay, so let's say I'm looking for some code for any random file that is not present on my file system, and node server.js, restarting the server. Okay, so you can see that it is sending a status code of 404, that means not found, and the error message that is here, right? So you can also send a customized message within the response that hey, you are searching for a wrong file, or anything where you want. But it is always a good idea to send the actual error message to the client. Okay, so this is how we serve static files with it. So you can also serve anything from your file system, but like if you want to serve maybe pictures or images or something, then probably you would have to use different functions and utilities. Okay, so that's it for this video. Maybe you learned something. Okay, bye.